May the 6th, 2025. Guys, you're looking at some information coming out this morning, and what happened as the Canadian Prime Minister, the new one, was coming into D.C. to meet with Trump, Trump put out a tweet. And we'll read that, and then shortly after there, he arrived at the White House. It was about a 30-minute meeting that we saw, of course, what the press was looking at, and then pretty sure they went behind closed doors and had a meeting otherwise. But Trump came out in this tweet earlier and pretty much laid the law down for the Canadian Prime Minister. Again, when he got there, I don't know if he had seen this. He was told that after he got there, and I think he didn't watch what happened when Zelensky came to the White House. He learned nothing from telling the Trump administration what he was going to do. And it didn't work out real good for him, but I went in and recorded the last 5 minutes of it. And you can see the demeanor on both of them's face change as it's leading up to that point of where he really PO'd Trump pretty bad. And again, if you don't bring a knife to a gunfight, and when you don't hold the cards, you can't come in there and demand anything. But this is what Trump said before. Then you're going to get about 5 minutes or so of what was said. But it's pretty funny. Watch the expressions on their face as the Canadian Prime Minister realizes what he stepped into, and watch Trump go from being very nice, which he was, very welcoming to him, and he congratulated him on a well-run campaign and things like that. And so it really started when some of the reporters started asking. I think they were trying to egg it on about, is Canada going to become the 51st state? What kind of tariffs and all this? And the Prime Minister pretty much said what he was going to do and wasn't going to do, and Trump turned red, and he found out a different story. Anyway, it said ahead of the meeting with the freshly elected Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney, Trump has made his feelings clear about the relationship with USA's northern neighbor. In a post on his social media platform, Truth Social, Trump said, "I look forward to meeting the new Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney. I very much want to work with him, but cannot understand one simple truth. Why is America subsidizing Canada by $200 billion a year, in addition to giving them free military protection and many other things?" So he I don't know, again, if Mark Carney saw this before his arrival there, or he learned about it at that point, or had been talked about in previous discussions. But anyway, you got to watch it. Let me read a little further into this. Now, going back to the post pre-meeting, he said, "We don't need the cars, we don't need their energy, we don't need their lumber, we don't need anything they have other than the friendship which hopefully we will maintain. They, on the other hand, need everything from us. The Prime Minister will be arriving shortly, and that will be most likely my only question of consequence." In other words, that is the main topic. And they ended the article saying that's going to be a fun meeting for the globalist last best hope. That's what they're thinking. Carney is a middleman. He's a globalist, Canada. And I think with the changes we see in the U.S. and around the world, the Canadians themselves are going to rise up, because I think it would be a pretty good partnership if you knock out all the tariffs and have free trade back and forth. Of course, Canada would have to make sure their borders were safe on the northern end, and really they're important because of, you think about NORAD and missile defense systems and the location of Canada, kind of like Greenland in some cases. You got that polar advantage. But guys, again, I watched it, and it's a pretty good play on the personalities, but I think that Trump spanked him pretty good. And you just don't come into a meeting like that demanding anything when you have nothing to offer. And when Trump said, "Why are we paying $200 billion in subsidies a year?" what he's talking about is that's the trade deficit. They're putting tariffs on us that is not reciprocal. and to a tune of $200 billion or so. And why? And when Trump said, why are we, in front of Carney, said, why are we doing this $200 billion deal? You could see that Carney's look was really bad. It's like, I just lost $200 billion for this country. This is not going to be a good trip going home. But anyway, watch the video, guys. Let me know in the comments what you think about it. I think it's really good to have a president that has a pair big enough to tell it to the face of the rest of the world. It's a heads up. Be safe.
Put him out of the race.
Mr. President, what changes would you like to see to the USMCA? Or what changes would you like to make?
We're going to work on some subtle changes, maybe. I don't even know if we're going to be dealing with the USMCA. We're dealing more with concepts right now. Look, right now, we're doing trade. We have trade. They're paying a tariff on cars and steel and aluminum. And I think we have a baseline of 10% or something like that for the tariffs. But we're getting along very well. Right now, going no further, but we have an agreement. We did something with even parts. You want to discuss that, Howard, with respect to Canada, which helps Canada out?
Sure. So we've made an arrangement with the car companies that 15% of their USMCA parts are included, and then 15% of foreign parts from the manufactured suggested retail price are not tariffed to help domestic manufacturing really thrive.
So it gave them a chance to be able to build their car parts factories if they're going to. A lot of these companies already have factories, and what they have to do is just fill them out. But they're able to build them in the United States, so we gave them a pretty substantial period of time.
I think. Just to clarify, Mr. President, is there anything the Prime Minister can say to you today to change your mind on tariffing Canada?
Tariffing cars?
Tariffing Canada. Is there anything he could say to you in the course of your meetings with him today that would get you to lift tariffs on Canada?
No.
Why not?
Just the way it is.
If Canadians don't want it, would you respect that?
Sure, I would. But this is not necessarily a one-day deal. This is over a period of time they have to make that decision. Yes, go ahead.
Yeah, if I may. Respectfully, Canadians' view on this is not going to change on the 51st state. Secondly, we are the largest client of the United States in the totality of all the goods. So we are the largest client of the United States. We have a tremendous auto sector between the two of us, and the changes that made have been helpful. 50% of a car that comes from Canada is American. That's not like anywhere else in the world. And to your question about is there one thing? No, this is a bigger discussion. There are much bigger forces involved, and this will take some time and some discussions, and that's why we're here, to have those discussions, and that is represented by who's sitting around the table.
See, the conflict is, and this is very friendly. We're not. This is not going to be like we had another little blow up with somebody else. That was a much different. This is a very friendly conversation, but we want to make our own cars. We don't really want cars from Canada, and we put tariffs on cars from Canada, and at a certain point, it won't make economic sense for Canada to build those cars. And we don't want steel from Canada because we're making our own steel, and we're having massive steel plants being built right now as we speak. We really don't want Canadian steel, and we don't want Canadian aluminum and various other things because we want to be able to do it ourselves. And we, because of past thinking of people, we have a tremendous deficit with Canada. In other words, they have a surplus with us. And there's no reason for us to be subsidizing Canada. Canada's a place that will have to be able to take care of itself economically. I assume they can. I will tell you that Trudeau, when I spoke to him, I used to call him Governor Trudeau. I think that probably didn't help his election. But when I spoke to him, I said, so why are we taking your cars? Why are we taking we want to make them ourselves. I mean, I said, and if the price of your cars went up, or if we put a tariff on your cars of 25%, what would that mean to you? He said that would mean the end of Canada. He actually said that to me. And I said, that's a strange answer, but I understand his answer. But No, I mean, it's hard to justify subsidizing Canada to the tune of maybe $200 billion a year. We protect Canada militarily, and we always will. We're going to, that's not a money thing. But we always will. But, it's not fair. But why are we subsidizing Canada $200 billion a year, or whatever the number might be? It's a very substantial number. And it's hard for the American taxpayer to say, gee whiz, we love doing that. Thank you very much. We're going to have a very substantial...
Thank you guys. Hey, keep it moving, please. Are you going to the World Cup? Please keep it moving.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, press.
Thank you, everybody.
I'm just waiting for my kids.
You can go with that.